Did you all know that every time a main character on the show Euphoria pulls their penis out, it's not their real penis? It's a fake penis. In fact, it's a stunt penis. It's actually just a prosthetic that sits in a trailer and gets doctored up and gets plastered to their body when it's time to whip out. Isn't that disappointing, coming from a show that's so highly artistic and, all about vulnerability? These actors want to call themselves actors, but they don't even want to pull their dicks out on camera. Would now be a good time to thank the sponsor of this video? I think so. Thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video, and the VPN I used to watch Euphoria while I was traveling. If you don't know by now, NordVPN is a tool you can use to protect yourself while you're browsing the internet, so you're not browsing the internet raw. This might be most relevant to you if you're browsing the internet on your computer, but you're in a public place. If anyone else is on that network, they can possibly sniff out what you're doing on your computer, but a VPN protects you against that. Plus, it's a great way to prevent your internet service provider from throttling you. That means restricting the amount of internet speed you have. And it's a great tool if you're traveling abroad to access different kinds of media. I use NordVPN to watch the whole first season of Euphoria again while I was traveling. And that is the whole point of today's video, but I'll get back to that in a second. If you subscribe to NordVPN, it works on up to 6 devices and it works on every major platform. That includes Windows and Mac OS. They have 5,200 servers in 60 different countries. What that means is you always have options, and it is very fast. It's also very to use. You literally just click a button and away you go. They also offer a double VPN feature, which means you can route all your internet traffic through 2 VPN servers, which basically means you can double bag it, so you don't have to go raw. You can go out there extra protected. So if you have been browsing the internet raw and you want to protect yourself, you can head over to nordvpn.com/Noel. If you subscribe now, you'll get 2 years plus an additional month free if you use my link. So sign up for that, stop going raw. And now let's talk about today's topic, which is Euphoria mid? So when this show first came out, I was highly impressed with the cinematography, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't track with the show actively. I was sort of in and out of the viewing experience. I would really only tune in if I saw cool scenes from the internet and I wanted to maybe, rewatch the camera movement. And I think I watched more BTS footage than I did of the actual show. The reason being is, despite the cinematography being very impressive, I didn't really allow myself to get into the story. And thus, I had the opinion that I thought the story in Euphoria was kind of mid. And I'm happy to say that I was wrong about that, not because I'm an imprisoned significant other chained to a couch watching a TV show with my significant other. That's a brutal visual. No, what I'm trying to say is I think I kind of played myself by looking too much into the cinematography, and I wrote off the show as being, something where it romanticizes drug abuse and, other complex issues. For some reason, I thought all that flashy camera work maybe took away from the point that was trying to be made. I think some people still feel that way, but I sat down and rewatched season 1 before getting into this season, and, again, I happily shut myself the fuck up because I think they dig into a lot of things which I think a lot of young people deal with now, and to some people it is this crazy amalgamation of all these different experiences where one might occur on one side of the country and one may occur in the other. But despite all the jokes about how unrealistic the show can be at times, I do think as a teenager, it probably feels, in some way real. Maybe not all the way. Even if you think the show is corny or if they really exaggerate certain aspects, I think one thing they really get right is that teenagers are frustrating people, and I think even more so now than ever. And all the characters in this show are really frustrating. I actually found, as I was rewatching season 1, a handful of these characters got on my fucking nerves. Whether it was in a way of empathy or wanting better for them, they would get on my fucking nerves, because that's what teenagers are supposed to do. They're supposed to make a lot of dumb choices and a lot of mistakes. So if you're someone who maybe you were like me and you wrote the show off, or you've been writing the show off because you don't think it's that interesting, let me say this to you. When you went to a party as a teenager, was your piece of shit car placed on a stunt trailer so a jib arm could move around from the back window to the other side to the passenger window while the 4 of you sang to music and you had really dope interior lighting on your car? No. But you do probably remember driving to a party, and you do probably remember that being a good time. And it doesn't even have to be like a high school party. It could just be you going to your friend's house or whatever. I think there are small moments in the show like that that capture nostalgia very well. So if you can find it in you to look past that and look at these frustrating characters, I think you'll find some some pretty good material in there. Before I dive into a couple of the characters, I do have to say that a difficult part of watching this show is if you personally have maybe brushed shoulders or know someone who is a character in this show, I do think it makes it hard to watch, because it takes human experiences that are otherwise pretty dry and pretty cold and illuminates them literally with pink and blue lights. And that can be a little rough, when you're watching people do things in slow-mo and it's shot like a music video. That is definitely a stark contrast to some of these really tough things that occur in the show. Going back to what I said about an amalgamation of experiences, I do think that is one aspect of the show that is very special, is they've been able to tie in a lot of different experiences into a theoretical place, which, I don't know, I think makes the show very polarizing, because you're having a lot of different people, maybe niche or majority or somewhere in the middle, relating to one of the characters. And the characters do, in my opinion, have a lot of dimension, that you can take aspects of each one and you can relate to things, whether on a simple level or a more complex level. And I find that not many shows are able to do this. Many shows have sort of archetypes or a character that exhibits a couple different issues, but to have all these people intertwined in this very elaborate way is a tough thing to pull off. And if you can get past some of maybe the presentation, I think it's very commendable what they've been able to do with this show. That said, I still don't know how I feel about how the show influences young people, because I do think, is there going to be a handful of teenagers that want to put on fishnets and bump fentanyl out of a key after watching this show? I don't know. I'm not qualified to say. What I do feel qualified to say is all the special camera moves that they do in this show actually feel like they're part of, the story, and they feel like they're actually motivating the story rather than just doing shit to do it, which I think is very cool, because that's a very fine line to walk. I think a show like this could be a tool that enables you to analyze how you deal with your own emotions at a simple level. Do you avoid the show because you think it's corny, or do you avoid it because you're afraid you'll feel something? I don't know the answer. That's something you can ask yourself. I know I avoided some of the episodes because it made me feel stuff. And I don't like feeling things sometimes. Knowing that I was going into the first season again, previously as kind of a hater, it really forced me to sit down and kind of look at these characters and think, all right, let me stop focusing on the technicals of the show and let me try to put myself in the mind of some of these people and see if I could envision myself just going through, in some capacity, what they're dealing with, which seems like what you do for any piece of film or TV. But again, I was going into this previously as a hater, and I was kind of ready to double down on that. So, I had to check myself a little bit and say, give it a chance. I'm being a little bit vague about what goes on in the show, because if you haven't watched it, I would encourage you to do so. If you don't relate to it at all, that in and of itself maybe has some value, because you ask yourself, why don't I relate to this? You don't have to relate to it super closely, but maybe there's something in there, and the fact that you don't connect with it, I don't know, that brings something out in you. Because ultimately, I think this show does speak to a lot of different people, more than you may think. But now the show is in season 2, and season 2 has a major issue for me. Part of Euphoria is building up the characters and giving you insight into their struggles and what makes them them, and contextualizes a lot of their behavior, which is dope. But what season 2 has exposed to me is that despite all the nice things I have to say about season 1, I'm still a 70 IQ male, because they opened this season on a 12-year-old. Spoiler alert. I'm about to give away one of the major scenes in the first episode. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back. They opened season 2 on a 12-year-old running through a house, jumping up off a couch, and killing a grown man with a hammer. Clubs him in the head. And now, as I'm watching the show, I find myself only thinking, when is that 12-year-old gonna get violent again? I don't know why, I just am so keen on a spin-off of Fez and Ashtray doing bad shit, and that is not because me and Fez have the same haircut. And all of you who have made a Fez joke in the comments already, fuck you. I've had this hair for how long, and he's had this hair for how long? All that's happened is you were just exposed to two bald people that are bald. It's not a special observation. I feel guilty because, you know, they're trying to tell these deeply complex human things. As the show does, it highlights, you know, what makes a person, what goes into their present behavior, what are the things that they overlook or push away that, you know, causes them to be like this. I should be paying attention to that, but I can't. I'm just sitting there like, all right, so when does this turn to Breaking Bad? It's sort of ruining my whole viewing experience, because now anytime I watch some other character's story, I'm like, speed it up. Speed it up. So now I sit here and watch the show, questioning myself. I have this whole meta dialogue going on in my head. Like, do I care about these characters? Am I lying to myself? Do I even really give a shit what's going on? There's shit happening on the screen right now, but when are Fez and Ashtray gonna, I don't know, go sell a pound of something, get into more trouble, hit somebody with a shotgun again? That's all I'm thinking about during the show. And is that from years of games? I don't fucking know, but it's ruining my ability to appreciate the show. I could say that much. When Fez hit Nate in the head with a glass bottle, I sat back, pointed at that, and was like, he should do that to more characters on this show. Okay, now that's a dangerous sentence right there, because immediately I know some of you are like, which characters? And I'm not saying Fez should go around just, you know, hitting Rue and somebody's mom in the head with the bottle, but I'm saying when he did it, that shit was pretty exciting, you know? Now at this point, this second season is only 3 episodes in, so this video is a little bit premature in that sense, but I wanted to make it so I could follow up when it finishes, and I don't know, see if I feel any differently or see if I was wrong about anything. Because at present, I really do like the first season. I think it's very special. The second season, the stronger takeaways I've had from it is a 12-year-old killing someone with a hammer. There are other complex things going on, but I mean, this third episode was a little bit too meta and self-aware for my liking, and I think it's getting away from what made the show special. In some ways, I think the character building is a little bit distracting from the stuff that, you know, you should be paying attention to, or the stuff that you should care about, which is what's going on with Rue and Jules, and will Nate ever become a good person, and who else is going to get screen time besides Sydney Sweeney? And the fact that the writers and producers were so kind as to protect all guys' fragile masculinity and not show them real dicks and show them prosthetic dicks. So to answer the question in the title of this video, do I think Euphoria is mid? I'm not sure, because I really love season 1, but what's happening in season 2 is making me a little bit skeptical. And it's making me feel like, could season 2 end up being mid? We just don't know, but we will find out. And yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know if you agree or if you disagree. I might read the comments. I may not. Thank you, Nord, for sponsoring this video and allowing me to watch Euphoria season 1 again. Yeah, I'll see you all with another video very soon. Goodbye. Hey, shit's play, man, I had to switch it up. Yeah, might lose a few, ask me if I give a fuck.